I dropped out of college to be an entrepreneur, and everybody was so disappointed in me. And so, like, oh my gosh, you should be getting your master's degree or your MBA. And I'm like, no, I would rather go and build companies because I don't know, the way your brain and my brain work are completely different than in the corporate world. I want to fix problems and build things. I want to build an empire, and you can't do that when you have a boss.
Welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one tiny little favor and make sure to give us a follow, because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing guests we have coming on this year. Without further ado, the person I got on today is a good friend of mine from the Blocks, a show I was able to hop on earlier this year, my first ever TV show. And so, funny little story, we actually met because on day one, I don't know if I could say this or not, but I don't think they didn't give us NDA, so I'm pretty sure we can't. But day one, there's like groups, and we both ended up winning first place in our groups. And then there's like a competition, and then where all the people that win in the groups go on stage and do another exercise. And we ended up tying in first place. Got to get to meet her that next morning in the breakfast, and then from there, been pretty much talked almost every day. Pretty much, yeah, talked, ate lunch almost every day from that point on. So for anyone that hasn't had the opportunity to get to know you, to get to meet you, Amanda, tell us your quick little elevator pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
Oh God. Well, I'm Amanda. I built a permanent makeup company in my early 20s, back when nobody knew what microblading and permanent makeup was, and ramped it up big into multiple locations and as scalable as you can imagine. I did it all myself with no debt. I'm a nerd. I love finance, and we're developing a project right now to help beauty professionals that want to own beauty businesses how to learn the basics of business and finance, because it's the reason a lot of people fail. So I love talking about nerdy things that make you money and make you happy. So.
And so before we get into all the business, all the entrepreneur talk, take us back in a time machine. I know a little bit about your story because we got to talk so much while being on the show, but for anyone who hasn't heard yet, take us back in a time machine. What was little Amanda like growing up?
Oh God, a total nerd, overachiever, loved golf since I was a little girl, 4.0, like, and then I got into Stanford, and I dropped out of college to be an entrepreneur, and everybody was so disappointed in me. And so, like, oh my gosh, you should be getting your master's degree or your MBA. And I'm like, no, I would rather go and build companies because I don't know, the way your brain and my brain work are completely different than in the corporate world. I want to fix problems and build things. I want to build an empire, and you can't do that when you have a boss. And so I always joke I'm not employable, but I just always have thought differently. And all my best friends think that same way. And it's really, business is a mindset, and it's something that can be learned. But there's one thing I love about you, John, is we have that hunger to learn and grow. And that's why we are exposed to certain opportunities in business too, is because we're prepared for them. Like, we are spending all of our time preparing and growing ourselves. So when the right opportunity comes around, like the Blocks or whatever, we are there and we get first place. And I was studying at 3 a.m. between nights. I don't know about you, but I was waking up early studying. So it's a different life.
Yeah, no, 100%. I remember on the Blocks, so I would study as much as possible, because those days, listen, I've been to conferences before, and I'm sure you have, but like for me, that was my first ever time where it's like, not only is like daily competition, so there's just the added pressure of like trying to compete, trying to win, but then the added pressure of everything being filmed for like the entire day, like that added a whole another level, another level of tiredness. So like I wasn't studying as much as I should have. But I would say every night, I probably spent like 20 to 30 minutes every night watching reading the slides that they sent out, and then a little bit in the morning. But it was nothing major until the final day, because honestly, I thought I was out of the competition entirely until day 4. And
did you lose your red shirt on the last day?
No, I actually still have my red shirt. We probably both should have worn it, honestly.
No, I mean, they took away my red. I was not a red shirt after day 4. So I was like, I'm out of it. I'm out.
Oh, yeah. For anyone that's wondering what we're talking about, so, like, anyone who's in a lead, they gave a red shirt. And so it's top 3 get red shirts, but you don't know the place that you're in. They don't tell you how many points you have. They don't tell you what position you're in. You just have to do your best guess. And so Amanda you and Sharon were dominating. Like, Sharon's another person that I met on the Blocks.
For 3 days straight, the first 3 days. And so when I lost it on
I got out the first day.
It's
Yeah. I
rough.
got Yeah, and so and then on top of that, then they kept having us in the same groups. And so like we kept our groups were so stacked, it was nuts. Like especially I think day 3 we had like 8 people that have all been on stage out of like the 12 or 13. And I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
man,
it
this is
was
rigged.
not
This
like
has to be
everybody
rigged.
was. It was not randomized. They were putting the top people to like fight. It got pretty intense.
No, 100%. To bring it back a little bit, so you mentioned that you dropped out of Stanford to get into entrepreneurship. I still remember like my first experience where, I mean, I thought differently, but it was never anything geared towards entrepreneurship. But it wasn't until like sophomore, junior year, I had an entrepreneurship class, and we used to watch Shark Tank. And then like junior year, I started realizing, all right, like the whole school thing. I mean, I'm gonna go because like I don't know what else to do outside of school because that was the only thing pushed. But like, I had a feeling like, yeah, a job, something about us retiring at 65 just wasn't cutting it. I don't know what it was about 65 or who like chose that number, but that's way too far off. And so that's when I first started getting my little seed. And I said I still wasn't entrepreneurial until the pandemic, which wasn't that long after. I was, well, my sophomore junior year was like 2016 ish, 2016, 2017. And then so around that time, that's when I started realizing like, all right, this traditional track, something about it, it doesn't really sit well for me. So like, at what point in your life did you start to realize like, all right, I don't really know about this being working for a boss until I am pretty much grandparent age, and then hopefully have enough life left to enjoy the rest of your life.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that has always been wired into my brain from a young age, for whatever reason, is compound growth. And so
Mm-hmm.
investing at an early age sets you apart so much. And for some reason, I understood that so much. When I turned 18, you can start contributing to your retirement accounts, like an IRA or an HSA. And so I actually
Mm-hmm.
flipped Chanel bags and I used the profit from that to invest and fully contribute to my retirement accounts because I was making $11 an hour just right out of school. But I was maximizing my Roth IRA, all my investments, which now today, like looking back, I'm like, that was one of the smartest things I could have done. So I wanted to get an
Yeah.
early edge, and making $11 an hour at the time in school, I was like, that's not going to happen. And I'm making so much flipping these bags. I just knew that I I don't know, you have to have this really interesting sense of belief in your ability to go and create. And I've always believed in myself. Like if I have an idea and I can visualize it, I know that I'll figure it out. Like I know that I'm hungry and I'm teachable and I'll make the right connections and it'll just come together. I can't show my work in my head, like the calculator going up here, but I just know it's going to happen, you know? And that's a really weird
Yeah.
thing that is hard to explain to people.
No, I definitely agree with you. Like, I remember taking math tests, and it would like literally force you to like show all your work or imprison you in jail. Like, you have to show your work. And it's like, I got the right answer. Do I really have to? Like, I got it right.
Why?
We
Now we have
still came
chat
to the same
GPT, you know?
conclusion. Exactly, exactly. And so you said you started flipping Chanel bags. Was that your first entrepreneurial endeavor? Like, how do you get into flipping bags, one, and then why Chanel
I
out of all
just
the
was
bags?
trying to find the highest profit margin thing. Like in the accounting world, it's called your effective hourly rate. I was like, what can I put my effort into that's going to yield me the best financial result? And that way I can invest all of it. I have lived off of nothing my entire life and I've invested all of it. So I'm very frugal. I drive my cars till 300,000 miles. I'm on my third Tahoe. Like, I make very good financial choices. I keep my bills low and I invest into real estate, stocks. Like I have built an amazing portfolio and I'm really proud of it because I don't spend money. I invest it. I want a secure future. I want to have
Hmm.
options later in life. I want to golf the world, but I'm not going to be able to do that being stuck in the corporate world. And that's not the life that I wanted. So I don't know. It's weird.
No, I definitely no, I agree with you 100%. So like fast forward a little bit, right? You started, you were in college for a little while, and then you made the decision to drop out. Was that something that was like impromptu? Was it like spontaneous? I know for me, when I made the decision to drop out, I always knew it was a scam. So like
Mhm.
even going into college, and then the pandemic, and so like my college experience that I was paying for now was taken away from me. So then that added a whole nother thing to it. And so I went to college to network and learn how to live my own. couldn't network because everyone had their cameras off on Zoom, and couldn't live on my own because I was literally in my bedroom, the same bedroom I'm in now, opening up my laptop and then going back to bed because they couldn't force you to sign in or, show your camera. So as long as it's in the classroom, I was there. I had my attendance or whatever. And then from there, I ended up reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. And then by mid sophomore year, I was just like, yeah, I'm out of here. I ended up just signing up for my real estate classes and then never looked back. And similar to what you mentioned, everyone was like, oh, John, like, why do you drop out? Why you do it? You got to finish your school. And like for me, it wasn't really much pressure because like I wasn't gonna listen to it. One thing about me, sometimes it could be a negative thing, but I could be very stubborn. Now, and when it comes to chasing my dreams, it tends to come in handy. And a lot of people in my family, right, they saw me as like the golden child in terms of like I always had good grades in comparison to like my cousins and stuff like that. Like I had good grades. I was the one that I was the first one out of all my cousins. My grandparents, they had a lot of fun in their younger days, right? So I have a pretty big family. Right,
Yeah.
and so out of all my cousins, I was one of the oldest. So I was the first one to go to college, and they was like, "Yo, John's, he's gonna be the first Mendes to graduate and get his degree," and like that was like what everyone envisioned for me. And then when I dropped out, it's like everyone had now an opinion. Everyone now had advice to give me, as if one, like they knew what we were doing. It's the middle of a pandemic. No one knows what's going
Yeah.
on, and two, it's like they didn't even help me get into college. So it's like my decision is my decision. So like, what was it like when around that time when you made that decision to drop out, and like, how did you like keep out all the other voices and the other opinions and stay focused on what the vision you had at the time?
It's funny hearing you explain all that takes me back because sometimes you forget what it was like in that moment. And I was 18 and my friend got me a job selling digital advertising for news stations in Seattle. And I was 18 years old and I was on a sales floor. It was like Wolf of Wall Street is what it felt like. There was 100 and something sales reps. It was a whole floor of desks with things. You had to have certain metrics. You had to make 200 calls a day. It was burn and sell. And so I go there as an 18-year-old girl. Somehow I sold myself into getting in there. And every month I was number one in sales. And I was with these 40, 50-year-old experienced salesmen, not many girls on the sales floor. And they hated it because every month I was number one, this little 18-year-old girl with no experience. And the difference is they required you to make a certain amount of calls a day. It was in the range of 100 plus. I forget what the number was, but I only made up to 10 calls a day because I called qualified leads. So I actually did things a lot smarter and I thought a lot different. And I realized how that separated me from these successful salespeople. And I started a network marketing business. Somebody introduced me to network marketing and I leaned into the personal development side of that and trained with John Maxwell, read a million books, learned people skills, learned sales, and realized how that was separating me and the people that I was spending time with, just my friend circle, the people that mentored me in life, they were doing way differently than everyone else. Like they made kick-ass money. They had flexible schedules. Their kids weren't weird. Like they had great kids, they had great marriages. And I was like, those are the kind of people I want to be around, are the people that have awesome lives that aren't stressed out and freaking weird. Like their kids aren't staring at iPads all day because mom and dad aren't there, And so I started just thinking different because I was around different. And I just worked really hard because I was like, I really want to learn and grow and make this happen. And of course, when I was making all that money at 18, I lived off of nothing and invested all of it. So it just accumulated as I started the beauty industry companies and scaled those. I did it with a very lean startup method, ran it all debt free, and it reinvested everything back into the business and other investments like real estate and everything. So it's just been a weird whirlwind of hunger and drive, and then seeking out people that are similar to you, but maybe further down the road that have the life and results you're looking for. And when I say results, it's not just money. It's like, who are they? Like as people are like, do they have, some people you meet, they're successful and they're magnets. You just want to be around them because they have great energy. They're happy. They're confident. They make you feel good when you're in the room. I'm like, I love those people. So that's who I surround myself with because I just always want to be the smallest person in the room. I never want to be like halfway or more. I want to always surround myself with people that are way further along than I am in life. So I think being exposed to that at 18 and 19 years old was everything. So it's so weird looking back on all that.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned a bunch of interesting points. I still remember. I don't know if you ever remember like the first time you had to sell, make cold calls. I don't remember my first cold call, but I remember like why I had to do them. It was so I was at K Jewelers, and
Oh, no
I think they had
way.
a promotion. Yeah, I was at K Jewelers. This is like right before I dropped out, and so I was at K Jewelers, and they had a promotion, and I just remember like, hey John, you have to read this script and like called these people, and they had a CRM before I even know what the term CRM even meant, right? And so they, for anyone listening, it's just a bunch of emails pretty much. They had a bunch of people to contact, and I had to go through one by one and start calling people up, and it was the cringiest thing of my life. But after a while, like I kind of started to get it, like I got the hang of it a little bit. I still remember my biggest sale ever. It was like I think it was like somewhere in the ballpark between 3,500, and it was a gold like Cuban link chain. We had a 30% off gold, and so it was something discount, and 30% off gold. And so I do my little pitch, I do my little script, and he's like, "Oh, gold." Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, gold. Like we have this, and that." And I was on the phone call with this one guy for like an hour. And we have like this big custom jewelry book. So I'm trying to, yeah, if you get if you get a 18-inch Cuban link and you get it this thick, it'll be roughly, in the ballpark of 5,000. If you want to add some, and I'm over here just like going back and forth with him, and he ended up coming into the store like 2 weeks later, and then I closed that deal, and it just so happened that the district manager was also there, and so like it was a little bit of like a flex for me because I'm like, yeah, I just closed a couple, several thousand
Got
dollar,
this off a
gold
cold
chain deal
call.
off a cold call. Yeah, all off a cold call. And then my first experience with network marketing, I actually wasn't a good one. So I'm curious to I'm gonna hear you dive in a little bit deeper into that. So when I was at college, this is the point in time where Forex really got popular,
Mm.
super popular. And then this group called like I Am Academy, they really started, to take the scene. And there's a lot of younger guys and gals in college, and they were like, man, they were so good at peer pressuring you into like they were like, like, do you not want to make money? Like, do you enjoy being broke? And they were just
Fear-based
all of these
marketing.
very highly manipulative marketing tactics to get you to feel guilty to join their cult. And it was a cult because a lot of people there were like, it's a trading platform, but a lot of people there were marketing, like network marketing, more than they were trading. And so it's
Exactly.
like they were getting people
They were
to
selling the
join,
opportunity.
but not many to exactly that themselves weren't using. And so that really
Yeah.
rubbed me the wrong way. So I never ended up getting into network marketing at all, even though I was a little interesting in trading. But like, it was just like, man, my roommate in college, she got into it, and then this other girl who was in our friend group at the time, got into it as well. And it was just like, the conversations changed a little bit, and it's like, let me just make sure we all avoid the topic of money at all points and times, because like
Yeah.
anything could turn into a pitch. But those are, I said those were like we're super close in college. It's just like, oh, now we just can't talk about money anymore. But those are
Yeah.
still my peoples, and I haven't talked to them in a little while. But so like, what was your experience like in network marketing? You said you leaned more into like the personal development side of it. That's one of the reasons why I was genuinely interested personally, because like they were into like Jim Rohn and like reading books and all the personal development stuff, and it's like, yeah, you got such a good head on your shoulder with the mindset stuff. It's like, why do you have to use these like make me feel guilty for not wanting to trade? Like, there's other ways to make money. I don't have to trade.
Totally.
And so that's why I ended up not joining. But so like, what was that experience like for you?
It was a little different because the solution was so easy. I worked with a company that it was more just switching where you shopped. Like the stuff you were buying anyway, you would buy it through yourself and get affiliate discounts. So it was, you're already spending the money, you're not spending more, and you get access to coaching and support from people. I was like, oh, that sounds great. But I seriously, I can't imagine building my companies the last almost decade without all of the knowledge I had from that, because I've built relationships, the way that you handle situations, the way you lead your staff, or even the cold calling with the advertising center. I have an internal call center on my staff now that I built myself. I built the script, I built everything because I've done it. So it's like um, it's a different level of leadership in business when you've done the work to grow, and dealt with rejection or dealt with disappointment and dealt with building yourself up. and setting goals and failing, or setting goals and succeeding, and always putting a carrot in front of you. And so I think that was one of the biggest game changers in my life, where I wouldn't have been exposed to the level of success with friends, the level of growth in my relationships, and finances. I don't know. I can't imagine what it would be like without it. I feel healthier. I really do. Because when you are centered around growing and improving, you have like that Kaizen life, like everything falls into place eventually. And you're going to go over the speed bumps of life a little easier than you would if you're in a sour mindset. So I don't know. I'm so grateful for that. It was one of the best things I could have done in my 20s or early 20s, like 19 to 24, I'd say.
That's amazing. So, all right. So always loved golf when you were younger. Then you ended up getting to college. You were working at the call center. Then you got into network marketing. You were flipping Chanel bags, so that's like fashion and beauty technically. Is that where the beauty kind of came into play? Like, where does that stem from? Out of all the different industries you could have chosen, why the beauty industry?
I didn't choose it. It's weird. So microblading, it's cosmetic tattooing for eyebrows. It wasn't in the US yet. It was back in 2016, and it was in Canada and Europe, but it hadn't hit the US market. And I had my brows done. I was probably one of the first people to have it done in the US, and I wouldn't shut up about it. I thought it was so badass because you don't have to do makeup and it looks real. But I also paid almost $900 to have it done. And I have to have it done every few years. So it's like, that was a lot of money. And it only took her 2 hours and probably $20 in tools to do it. Like, my business brain started turning. So as I was working and full time and doing like everything else, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just start doing this on the weekends and see, because no one's doing it. And I got SEO quickly. I marketed. I created a ton of video content, social media, and quickly led a big part of that in the Pacific Northwest. I was on the board of directors for Permanent Makeup. I helped build one of the biggest training academies, which is now in 100 countries. The product line, the online courses, everything you can imagine, like the drip sequences, like everything, internal staff. I built the coolest thing, and it was all trial and error and keeping the cost low. And I'm like, what? I don't know how it happened. I did not choose beauty, but the thing is, beauty is high margin for the most part with the right services, and for the most part, it's pretty economically level because we cater to clients that aren't as affected by the economy. We're one of the most expensive brands for permanent makeup in the country. So we're like the Louis Vuitton of permanent makeup. So we market things a lot differently, and the experience is a lot different than just going down the street to some salon or studio. So it's a full encompassed entrepreneurial journey, that's for sure. But I don't feel like a beauty professional. I feel like a business owner. It's so weird.
Yeah, no, that's amazing because we have so kind of similar. So when I started using ChatGPT, ChatGPT came out in November 2022, right? In the later parts of November. I started using it sometime mid-December, so pretty early on. Probably within 3 to 4 weeks of ChatGPT like releasing to the public, I was already on it using it. Around January, I ended up 2022. Now January 2023, I ended up using ChatGPT to create a webinar on how to use ChatGPT. That went really, really well, and I ended up upselling. Yeah, that's the origin of AI. How I started teaching AI, and I upsold for the very first time, and then from there I realized like how much people don't know anything about AI at all. Like, it was so brand new, like so foreign to most people, and I was like, well, there's a big old opportunity here. Let me figure out what to do with it. And so that's kind of sparked everything for me. Kind of similar to you. You started and you got your eyebrows microbladed, and then kind of seen the opportunity. Like, for you, what was it like starting something, like almost like pioneering something over in your area? Because I know for me, I felt like for a while it was kind of tough, especially because like you don't really need, at least when ChatGPT first came out, like you don't need AI to run your business. You can run your business entirely without AI, and you can still run your business entirely without AI and have a very successful business. Like, it's not necessary. And so it's like when it first came out, I'm over here trying to like future pace and tell people like, hey, like this is, you got to get on this now. But as a lot of times felt like I was kind of I was speaking to walls at some point because it's like, yeah, John, like it's not really a priority. I don't really need it right now, which is true. But like, I
Mhm.
was trying to tell him, like, you got to get ahead of it now before it's too late. And so, like, what was it like for you? Because you said you started using microblading back. You were one of the first people to get your eyebrows done, and then you seen the opportunity to turn that into a business. It's like, what was it like, kind of like pioneering that?
It's really interesting because through the different phase of building our brand, it's taken different skill sets because at the beginning, like I said, nobody knew what microblading was. So it's all about demand creation, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
having to market or sell. And so I knew my best opportunity was going to be through referral. So we created such an exceptional experience, like way above and beyond, where everyone sent 10 people they knew in. And so I did not spend a dollar in advertising for years. We were fully booked as of my second month in business. And I was making 200 grand a year microblading off of 2 days a week and rent subleasing this little studio. And I was like, oh shit, I need to like get a bigger place now. But I didn't want to. I liked the cheap rent. So then I subleased 2 rooms from another place because I didn't want to sign a lease and I wanted to keep it, I wanted to invest everything. And so I kept it really lean. And then as the industry matured and as there were, because obviously I was training, I have almost 1,000 students I've personally trained in permanent makeup. So that's there's a ton of microblading artists now out there. There's probably 1 million in every city. And so now I've had to pivot to growing my staff, training staff, systems, operations, but then the marketing and sales is different because I'm training two sides of things. I'm training my staff to get to 80% of where I'm at with people skills and sales and upselling. Like that is where it's all at because they're already in your door. But then you have to master digital advertising, SEO, Facebook, Google, everything else. And so I have committed and invested a lot into mastering that side of things because the mistake a lot of business owners make that are doing all the referral stuff, you want to hire a marketer and just delegate it and go, oh, okay, go get me clients. Here's $1,000 a month for ads. Well, I spend $30,000 a month on marketing now, and I know every metric. I know cost per lead, cost per acquisition. I know I need to split test and everything. It's a totally different business now. That my CEO spreadsheet today is way different than when it was just me trying to create awareness in the industry. So it's been weird progressing, and you think now, oh my gosh, like the things that we know about marketing
Mm-hmm.
and even AI and how we can prompt and create things and delegate the time consuming part of our creativity. It's awesome. You and I see it as easy, and other people go, oh my God, I don't know how to do it. And they never want to go on it by themselves. You and I will sit there all day and play with it and go, okay, what can we do now? Like yesterday, I was on ChatGPT, the new update where you can actually it creates images and PDFs. So I was telling it, we're starting a new project and I need new branding and I hate branding. And I had it create mood boards for me with the hex codes, with different fonts that matched. And I had it done in 10 minutes for free with the mood boards and everything. And I sent that whole thread to my staff on our marketing chat and said, here you go. I didn't have to talk to anybody. It was crazy. It was like 2 a.m.
That's insane. Yeah, and I love that you brought that up because a lot of it comes from curiosity. I think for me, one of the things that has helped me get to where I'm at now, just being genuinely curious. Like when ChatGPT first came out, I always tell people, like, I'm not a computer tech guy. I'm not in IT. I'm not a developer or a programmer. I don't know any coding at all whatsoever. Like I started using AI because I just wanted to save some time on my business. Like editing a
Yeah.
podcast is annoying. I was trying to save myself a little bit of time. That's all I wanted to do at first when it first came out. And I'm like, okay, what else can it do? And then I ended up taking a course on how to use ChatGPT that my mentor had, and then I ended up creating a class on how to use ChatGPT using ChatGPT. And then from there, it was just like pure curiosity. And I would just BS a whole bunch. But like after a certain point in time, like I've used ChatGPT now to plan events. I've used ChatGPT to create drip sequences, email campaigns, um, follow up sequences, text campaigns, like so much more. I've been using ChatGPT for images for a long time, for thumbnails, for present, like for when I use my when I create my slides for my webinars and stuff like that. I use ChatGPT to generate images. Like I just started like, okay, what else can it do? And that just kind of helped more and more stuff, and no one else knew how to use it. So it's like, well, hey guys, this is what I'm doing, and that ended up turning into this whole thing. And it's been kind of interesting seeing where everything has taken itself, and that's not even something that I don't even know how long that's gonna go. Honestly, I'm gonna keep going with it as long as it's making money for me. But like ideal world, like the podcast is like what truly fulfills me. Like that's where I love this, like having dope conversations and like
It's so
the whole
fun.
theme of the
It fills your
podcast
cup.
too. Yeah, I know, 100%. I do this all day. I have another one. I had one already earlier today, and then I have another one later. I could probably do another 3 or 4. Honestly, like I love, and these go on for forever. Like especially when you're talking a lot, people don't understand how hard it is to talk a lot. Like it's
Yeah.
easy sometimes when you're talking to dope people, but like, well, you start talking for 2 hours straight, 3 hours, 3 hours straight, and it's like, man, your voice starts
Creative
getting,
energy.
cracky, your throat starts getting sore, and yeah, it's creative energy because you're in flow the whole time, and like,
Mhm.
so it's one of those things. So I want to ask you a little bit. So like, we talked before we hit record a lot about traveling and stuff like that. So like, you've been able to grow your business to really high levels, right? How are you also making sure that your cup stays filled as well on the personal side so you can be the business owner that you need to be when you actually show up for business?
Yeah, well, the hard thing is, I'll tell you, like, kind of how the cycle of my life. I built the business, did not take a vacation for at least 6, 7 years because it was go time. And I don't look
Mm-hmm.
back and remember not taking vacation. I was so excited about what I was building. I was fired up. Like I built the shit out of the business and I didn't care about anything else. And I look back and I'm like, thank God I invested those years because I wouldn't have the freedoms I do today and have the systems. And because now I've been able to delegate and scale to a different level. So now I only do high value tasks in my business. And I have leaders within my organization where I know, like, you have to be aware of everything going on and I manage everything and I'm looking at everything every day. But it's just a different kind of work, and um, now I prioritize well-being and everything for the first time. I got married at 19 and was married for 10 years and went through a divorce with no prenup. So I had to buy them out of my businesses. So thank God my bills are low because I lived for free for like 3 years paying that off. And so now I'm in this new era where I'm going to go and build and create it on a whole different scale. And when I was doing network marketing back in early 20s, my passion was always helping people with budgets and investing for retirement, getting out of debt. And that, just like you said with podcasts, if I talk about those things, I get so passionate. Like it's my favorite thing. All my best friends, I set up their retirement accounts and automated their contributions. So they forget that they're going to be millionaires when they're 60 because they don't see the little things transferring every week. They know it's happening, but like that's who I am. And so that's why I'm excited to scale digitally with this finance mentorship brand, because think about how many people starting out in business didn't learn a damn thing about money or entrepreneurship, don't understand what an LLC is and the basics of cash flow in a company. Like I'm going to make this stuff so third grade level and it's going to make an impact. And honestly, I don't give a damn if it's this crazy profitable brand. That's going to fill my cup. And I know it will be successful, but it's a different heart and it's a different level of maturity in business where you know that your success is based on the impact that you make for people versus the numbers in the spreadsheets. So that's kind of been the eras or the phases of my life. And it's a way different mindset today than it was when I was grinding. And I think the biggest advice I have is as you grow, keep your eye out for opportunities to pivot. And kind of like you said, as you grow, like the podcasting, the courses and everything, one pivot I made was into fat sculpting at our studios. I saw that trending and kept an eye and studied that. And that's a big 7-figure leg of our business is just the fat sculpting side. And so you see new opportunities within your same model that you can adapt to and grow and be kind of at the forefront before everyone else gets there. And I don't know, it's weird. You got to keep on it. You can't get lazy, can you?
No, 100%. And I love that you mentioned new opportunities within your same model because I think that's something that definitely I struggle being a creator, but like I got so much, and I'm sure you do as well. Like just so much joy and fulfillment in the build, like the build I get, and so like sometimes when a lot of business is boring. Like especially when you know what you have to do the same things over and over, long enough time, and then you start seeing success. And then when you succeed, you still have to keep doing it over and over again so you can keep on succeeding. But it's very easy to get lost. It's like, ooh, this looks fun. And so like for me, I was trying to do so many different things, and like I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on what I'm about to ask you next. Because like for me personally, so I have this AI thing that I say fulfill my pockets, right? And then the podcast fulfills my
Mhm.
purpose. And I know if I focus on one over the other, I would be able to grow a lot faster and further. But like I have two things that fulfill me for two different reasons. And not like I'm not only doing AI for money. I just genuinely love teaching. The topic just so happened to be AI. But like teaching, presenting fulfills me. It just so happened the topic is AI. But like the podcast, like I've always been a sucker for deep conversation. So like that fulfills my cup in a whole nother way. And so it's like for me, haven't been growing as fast as I could. And I say could because whether I should or shouldn't, that's I'll never actually truly ever know. But I know I could be faster if I had focused on one and not the other. So I want to ask you, like, what's your thoughts on like the word sacrificing when it comes to like business?
I think that when we look at successful brands and companies, we know that the top 20% in any market gets 80% of the market share. And why are they the top 20%? And what separates them? And it's honestly not that much. It's just that you focus more on mastering your craft. You go the extra mile for who you're impacting or your customer, your ideal client. Maybe your marketing is more consistent. So I've just always committed myself to maintaining in the top 20% market share of any industry I'm in. If I need to study an hour a day, like I studied prompting on AI an hour a day for 3 months. I committed to that because I was like, I know that if I can utilize these things, I'm going to gain and maintain that competitive edge. And an
Mm-hmm.
hour a day wasn't a big grind for me, but cumulatively over 3 months, that's better than any college course. And so we have included that in our systems, and we're pivoting and we're advancing in a way we haven't before. And so I think that for you, with the courses you have, the podcast, they're one, they're combined. And so I think that seeing it under one umbrella and just focusing on building your brand, which the podcast helps build your audience and your brand and your exposure, and then your paid offers are tied in with the podcast. And so they have to both exist. And I think that as you find your niche and as you continue to really niche down over the years and everything, you're going to be able to add more courses and adapt what's happening with AI in the market. And what's cool about AI is it's going to change so much over the next 5 years that you will easily have a system to create new courses. You can just have them launching all the freaking time. And so I think just keeping on top of what's happening like you are, and then learning to execute systematically, and then just having that little bit of studying every night, that's it. Just create a system, a daily habit system that keeps you in that top 20%. That's how you win in business, and that's how you win long term. And that's how you find opportunities to pivot, like the fat sculpting. And you just got to keep in the hunt.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like for me personally, like moving forward, like the more forward, like the further you progress, the clearer the path gets and opportunities to show up. That's always been there, but you never thought of before. And as you said, like having that open mindedness to be willing to pivot when opportunity does present itself. And you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned this before we started recording or during. I don't know. I forget. But you mentioned something about how we constantly have to reinvest in ourselves so that when opportunity presents itself, that we're ready for them whenever they come. Because we don't ever know when they'll come. But as long as we keep growing ourselves, one of my favorite quotes is like, our business grows to the extent that we do. It's just like, how
That's
do you
right.
continuously like grow and grow your business? And so it's like this never ending journey of like trying to get better and trying to get better. And I'm curious because like you've trying to had this for what it seems like almost forever. So it's like, do you have a feeling as to like where that drive comes from? Because as you already know, that's not the norm, right? That's not most of society to
No.
have especially at a drive at the level of drive that you have. Like you're probably driven in a room full of all driven people. You look more driven, right? So it's like, where do you think that comes from?
Well, what's weird is I've experienced having that drive and not having it because building and that initial excitement goes away. And most of the time, you don't feel like building it, and it's a built in discipline. And I know that I'm not going to perform well when I eat more sugar or I'm not as active. And so I create habits in my life that enforce the health of my brain, or my energy levels. And um, I don't know. It doesn't feel like pivoting over time, and it doesn't feel like you are grinding or growing when you're just in your daily habits and you've just made a commitment to executing on those every day. When I made the big pivots with our academy or with fat sculpting, it didn't happen like, oh, I made a big decision. It was little things that led into it, like a brick by brick over time, that I wouldn't have seen. Like, that wasn't my vision. It just came together because I acted on every little brick in front of me. And the hard thing was, like I mentioned, like personally, when I went through my divorce and was making huge ass payments to buy out of the companies, I had no money left for myself. I made those big payments and it demotivated the shit out of me because I was like, I'm paying a black hole right now. I'm not incentivized to grow. But I think it just comes down to when I was feeling icky at that point and not motivated, feeling responsible, because everything rises and falls on leadership, and it's my responsibility to lead my business and show everybody where we're headed. And if I'm not on my shit, if I'm not growing, if I'm not on top of it, if I'm grumpy with my staff, which I never am, I'm very careful with that, because we all have bad days, then it's going to fall apart. And I've worked way too hard over the years to let my emotions dictate where I'm going to steer this ship. I love this ship and I need to be very careful where we are headed. And so I think it's more emotional intelligence. I know that sounds so stupid. It's when you feel things like, I don't want to learn this, or I'm scared about this, learning to manage my thoughts. So I talk to my thoughts because it comes into your brain, you're scared about something. And I talk to myself, I say, no, that's fine. Normal to be scared. Let's just take some action today. And we could just keep it at a half hour of this or that. And we're going to take baby steps. And that little action is why I've built what I have. It comes down to the stupidest stuff, like just managing yourself and your emotions. Because I tell you, 3 years I was not motivated and we still grew and like crazy. So you have to be a leader, and that starts with leading yourself. And it's the hardest thing you can do. And it's a daily struggle, isn't it? It's a daily freaking struggle.
I don't know if you remember, but at the blocks, you gave a speech on the. Hello, mic check. Mic check.
Yep.
Can you hear me? All right, we gotta edit this part out. Anyways, where was I? The blocks. There we go. I don't know if you remember, but at the blocks on the final day when we were getting our awards, you gave a speech when you went up on stage, and it stuck with me for a little while because you mentioned. I don't remember the whole speech, but I remember one part very vividly when you mentioned that you got your sparkle back, and now that you got it back, where have you been going? Where are you planning on going? Where are you taking the ship that you mentioned that you've been steering?
It sounds weird because the sparkle is that drive. It's that ability to make shit happen and just put a vision together and execute. And after that 3 years, I was just like, I felt like, it was heavy. It was hard. And so now that I've paid all of that off, it's all gone. It's like I feel light and I feel grateful and I feel a whole new sense of empathy. And I really want to center our brand around impact and the way that we're going to make a difference. We're going to be the Dave Ramsey of the beauty industry. That's where we're headed right now. And it's going to be the coolest shit you've ever seen. We're going to help women do so well. We're going to help them master the basics because everyone goes to beauty school to learn a service, but beauty school does not teach you anything about business at all. So we need to protect people. We need to educate them, and we're going to do it in a way that they hear it and they are inspired to grow and change. And so I think the biggest sparkle thing I had to overcome is getting over my selfishness of like, oh, I don't want to be on social media all the time. I don't want to be on video all the time because it sucks, like being on video, you feel very like it looks self-centered in our brain, even though nobody cares. Because I've always been very authentic on social media and everything, but it still feels icky. You're putting yourself out there. Some people are not going to like what you offer, or they're going to have things to say. And I think deep down, selfishly, I'm sensitive and I don't like that feeling. I'd rather hide behind my company and brand and not be on the forefront. And so this sparkle and getting back is me just saying, you know what? I don't give a damn. I just need to go out, and if I am selfish and stay in my little hole here, then I'm not going to make a difference in all the people that are needing it. And I know how needed. I have a wait list of almost 300 people that need our program that are like let me know when it's done because we're signing up. And that drives me because like the 3-paragraph life-changing messages from people after a course or whatever, that drives me. That's the sparkle that I need to get back, is just realizing that it's not about me. I need to take the focus off that and stop being so self-conscious and go out and build for other people. And that's been my biggest hurdle. It's really sad. It's so stupid because I've done social media and everything for years. And I
Yeah.
don't know. That was the hurdle.
No, that's amazing. Well, I'm glad you're over the hurdle now, and you're back to feeling the drive again. And so, for anyone that wants to get added to that wait list or keep up with any of the other amazing things you got going on, where can we find you? Where can we keep up with you to get all things Amanda and everything that you have going on in the beauty industry?
I would say Instagram's the best one. I mean, I've got every platform you can think of, but Instagram's updated all the time. You'll see all the crazy stuff and behind the scenes on stories. And on Instagram, it's amandabanks.pmu. And send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. I love connecting with people and learning about I actually follow people's journeys and I keep up with people. And you build your community that way. It's so special.
100%. And now it's time for our lightning round, the famous 5 questions, same 5 questions I ask every single guest. Question number 1 is, what is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
The most impactful lesson? Like treat people really well. I'd say that's a big thing. Like really love people, love on them and treat them amazing no matter what.
What is the most admirable trait a person can have?
Empathy.
If you had to change someone's life but had only one book to recommend, which would it be?
One book? I would say How to Influence and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's like the Bible of people skills, and it will help you get a job. It'll help you progress in your career. Like it'll help you in your relationships. I think that's a really good groundwork. I read it every 1 to 2 years.
What is the legacy that you're working on leaving behind?
Helping women learn the business side of things in the beauty industry.
And for anyone that wants to embark on their walk to wealth today, what is the first step you recommend they take?
Figure out what your goal and your vision is. Get really clear about where it is you want to go and why. And it needs to be a deep, like it has to be a passion. It has to be something that you would change and get out of your comfort zone for. And once you have that, you can break down the rest. But you should always have that vision and goal for your life, and get as specific as possible, because that is what it takes to go. That's what it's going to take to execute when you really don't feel like it.
Amazing. I mean, that's all for our episode. Thank you so much for hopping on. Thank you for staying in touch after the blocks. And I'm looking forward to staying in touch. And we're definitely going to have to get you back on in the future. So be on the lookout for that.
Yeah, what a great time, and have a great time in Austin. I love that you are investing so much back into your growth, and you're going to be leading in conferences and speaking, and that is going to be so amazing long term, because the nuggets you take from those things are invaluable. Those are intangible things that shape you and grow you as an entrepreneur. So you are hot on that road. It is so exciting.